Whew, man, that last video was a beast. Like, sincerely, I appreciate you guys tuning into that one. I know some of y'all aren't exactly here for the non-music related stuff, but this was a subject I'm extremely passionate about, and I'm glad I got the chance to make this. Thanks for tuning in. Next long-form video will be on a musical topic. Hopefully a way shorter musical topic. But yeah, thanks again for tuning in, people. More stuff is on the way. Stay tuned. I usually open these FIMIs with like a joke or something. I didn't actually prepare one this time, so tits. Heyo people, and welcome to this edition of FIMI, or fuck, I missed it. We're covering 40 albums from up to Q2 of 2020 in this episode. I've got 20 picked out myself, and the peeps over at the CTXO Discord server have picked 20 themselves, and we're gonna fire through them all. I'm just gonna go through them in a quick, dirty, rapid-fire style like we do in every FIMI. If you want to join the server, it's a one-time $10 pledge on Patreon. Feel free to check that out if you feel so inclined. We have fun over there. It's a good time. But you get the idea. We have a lot of ground to cover in this video, so let's get started with Courage My Love, Spectra. Y'all know I have been singing this band's praises for a long time now. Well, they released a new EP this year, and holy god, it slaps, like, legit. It slaps super hard. They decided to lean even harder into the electronica vibe Synesthesia was putting out, and this record is just a full-blown, bright and beautiful 80s retro pastiche. And my god, it looks brilliant on them. The 80s worship is a little excessive on the track Original. I mean, Jesus, I Love the 80s wasn't this fucking excessive with the references. But outside of that super minor complaint, yeah, this is another gem, and it's yet another band we can add to that ever-growing list of groups that did a 1975 record better than the 1975. Good for them. Bad for the 1975. Seriously, I wasn't even that down on this album, but god, the more stuff that comes out this year, the more I realize I was being too nice. Shit. Black Dahlia Murder, Verminous. It's loud, it's crazy, it's vicious, it's an absolute holler of a record. Black Dahlia Murder have given us yet another awesome Black Dahlia Murder album. And absolutely nothing else. Look, I love this band, but I can completely admit this group big time suffers from the problem. Black Dahlia is just Black Dahlia at this point. They're out there giving the fans basically what they want and not much else. But speaking as a fan, yeah, this is good stuff. I can't complain. They certainly do have the problem, but I don't know, the problem is only a real problem if you're not good at what you do. And Black Dahlia, they're really good at what they do. So, you know, not gonna be for everyone, but fuck, I liked it. So, yeah, this has been one of the biggest album releases of the entire year. And not without good cause. I get why it's getting the praise it's getting. But if I'm being 100% honest with you people, it's not that I dislike this, not at all. I respect the hell out of this album. I appreciate the artistic risks it takes, and I love a lot of the lyricism here. It's just like, I don't know, it's not a very fun record. I don't really come back to this a lot. And I understand that that's not the musical goal behind this album necessarily. I mean, I like this album, I respect this album, and I even appreciate this album. I get why this is gonna be on a lot of 2020 lists, but like, probably not mine. It's one of those albums I respect. It's one of those albums I admire, but I'm just not having a lot of fun with it. I don't love this album. I like this album, I respect it, but I don't like Oh yeah, it's not an album that excites me. Oh, you gotta listen to Fiona Apple. It's one of those where I just nod and can't speak. It's an album where I nod and contemplatively say, yes, indeed. And I get it like that, but it's not fun. It's not like a fun record at all. And 2020, God, 2020 needs fun albums. We need shit that's not just, ugh. Maybe it'll grow on me. Okay, wow, I just was not feeling this one. I know I've carried a torch for Smith Street over the years, and it's not even like this record is too crazy different from their usual output, but God, this album is so negative and dour and sad, which, I don't know, again, that is appropriate for 2020. I get why it's the mood. Like with Spanish Love Song's last record. I mean, you know, that was also a dour and sad as hell album, but I don't know, this one just doesn't hit like Spanish Love Songs. Particularly because Spanish Love Songs, that record at least had an undercurrent of optimism kind of running through it. The mood on that record is like, oh my God, things are fucked, but we'll figure it out. We'll be okay in the end. This album, it's just sad and sad. Again, maybe in any other year outside of 2020, I'd be way more generous, but given the circumstances, I'm sorry, I was just not in the mood for this. So, a few months back when I heard Future Nostalgia from Dua Lipa, I was convinced that that was going to be like my pop record of the year. Just flatline convinced. Nothing was going to top that. Then Rina Sawayama showed up and like, damn! Oh, this thing wrecks, people. Songs like STFU and Paradisen, like, they have like a full-blown rock jam to them. I probably could have gotten away with reviewing this album back when I was the rock critic. It's absolute ear candy, and it's got the lyrical weight to back it up too. Chosen Family? Fucking Chosen Family. God, that song will probably ring too true to a lot of y'all out there. Like, don't mistake me, Dua Lipa's record is still great, and it's going to get a very high spot on my end of the year list, but guess what? Sawayama? It's getting an even higher one. Damn, people. Yeah, this record is that good. Check it out. This is actually my first spin with a Quelle Chris record, and I don't feel like this was the best starting point. I mean, this album literally opens with a recap of what the first Innocent Country was all about, and
peace by bloody peace!
It didn't help. But even still, there was a lot I liked on this. My God, does Chris Keys have a knack for production. This album is just crystal clean, and the relaxed, mellow grooves are very pleasant and soothing overall. I did get some nice vibes off of this record, but again, I can't help but feel like I'm a bit out of the loop. Like, I can tell this album is not a good place to start with Quelle Chris's catalog, but it's still a solid record for sure. Even I can still see that. Props. You know, I generally don't hate Car Seat Headrest. They're okay. I generally dig what Will is out here doing. I've never understood why people lose their shit over this guy, but you know, I've always respected everything I've ever heard from this particular project. Even if it hasn't always been my thing, I've always been able to say, okay, it's at least nice. I get it, even if it's not something I personally enjoy. This record, this was the first record that actually got under my skin in any particular way. Like, see, this record went in a much more electronic, sort of synth-heavy direction, and my God, some of the synth choices he made on this record make my ears bleed. That opening track can fuck right off. And when Will doesn't have good music to back him up, his shortcomings as a songwriter just stick out that much more. Real talk. Overall, it wasn't like an abysmal record or anything, but yikes! The parts of this album I didn't like, I really did not like. Like, holy shit. I don't know, get mad at me if you just gotta, but I really do not want to see this guy continue in this direction. Just no. Just, I'm sorry, but like, no. All of my no. This is... People, I wanted to like this one. I loved Diet Sig's debut, but man, does this album just not stick to me. It slides right out of my head every time I listen to it. I'm not even exactly sure why. Diet Sig still sound like themselves here. They haven't changed all that much or anything. I can't help but wonder if that might be the reason it doesn't stick. I mean, the band did make a lovely first impression, but this one lacks a lot of the punch that first impression left. It sounds like it's missing something. I honestly feel like they maybe do need to mix up their sound a little bit for the next record, because if they keep going on this path, I could see it getting very boring very quickly. I don't know, people. I thought I was gonna feel this one, but I just was not feeling this one. Okay, I just want to say right out of the gate, the way this record was promoted, you know, with the staggered surprise 3-part release, all that shit, absolutely atrocious. That killed all of the initial hype for me, and it ruined the first impression. I just did not want to review this when it came out, because I wasn't gonna do 3 goddamn reviews on 1 goddamn album. That was terrible. I'm just laying that out there. That was a miserable way to release a record. But now that the whole thing is out, and that isn't even an issue, yeah, the record is great. It's very good. It's morose, deeply personal, and achingly, unflinchingly honest. Another album that perfectly reflects 2020 as a year. I know that doesn't sound like a recommendation, but no, this album is a golden listen. Definitely pick it up if you don't mind listening to another sad record. But this one, I feel, gets it right. A very distinct blend of Japanese screamo, post-hardcore, post-rock, post-punk, just... I don't know, the best way I can put it, this album is post as fuck. But I really dig it. It's one of those hardcore records that gets a blend of serene and savage, just very on the nose. I get requests for albums that sound like this all the time, and 9 times out of 10 it just feels so generic and uninspired and just bland as dishwater, these hardcore bands, I swear to Jesus. But if you want a hardcore record that actually does heavy and smooth and just the right balance, this comes highly recommended. I definitely dug this one. Oh my god, speaking of smooth, this record right here from Perfume Genius, smooth as hell. I understand why this one came so highly recommended to me. One of the most lucid and dreamy records I think I may have spun for this entire FIMI. Though, real talk, it might be like a little too dreamy in places. It's so smooth that you could almost call it grooveless in places. At times the mood was so mellow it was borderline tepid. I still did enjoy the record overall, but I need to be in a certain kind of mood for stuff this relaxed, so a light recommendation from me, but if you need something smooth, man, this album right here is fine whiskey. Oh man, this one, god damn it. Just like with Diet Sig and Smith Street, I went into this album super hyped, but then I listened to it, and afterwards I was just like, Okay. It's okay. That's all I really have to say. It's not bad. I didn't loathe any particular feature of this album, but I don't know, again, it's one of those albums that just leaves zero impression on me. But unlike Diet Sig, I think the opposite thing happened here. Boston Manor made a ton of changes to their sound on this record. They went for more of a full blast explosive sound. It's got a lot of punk thrash and a lot of uglier electronica elements weaved into it. And while they aren't bad at it in any particular fashion, the things I liked about their last record were really the moody, ominous tone and the delicately layered production. And this record, it's going for a much more different vibe than that. And you know, overall, again, I didn't hate it. I mean, I wasn't in agony listening to this or anything, but the step down from their previous record was just so noticeable to me. And well, the thing is, they're going for a different groove on this record. They are trying something very different, and it just honestly didn't do much for me. Your mileage may definitely vary on this one, but... You know, while I've certainly, bemoaned math rock on this channel, I have to admit that Covet is one of those projects that actually has captured my attention. Not just because Yvette Young is an outstanding guitarist, but also because she has such a great knack for actual songwriting as well as composition. I always feel like Covet's work is more about writing actual songs than just fucking scale exercises. There's always been like an emotional depth and resonance to her writing, and on this album in particular, it's very wistful, very morose, but also sweet and harmonious at the same time. Again, if there is a math rock band I think I'm all in on, it's this one. Another great album from Covet. I really wish I heard a lot more math rock that sounded like this, and just neither here nor there, but Yvette is a really pretty singer. I don't know why we don't hear her sing on more songs. I don't know, she's got a very lovely voice. I'd be down for a completely vocal Covet record. You know, it's super weird thinking that after all this time on YouTube talking about music, and only now do I get to discuss Lady Gaga, and how much I love her work. Like Fame Monster, Born This Way, Art Pop, all fantastic records. I'm a Gaga stan, I'll cop to it. Though I have to admit, I have kind of been tuning out lately. Not even for a negative reason necessarily. I liked Joanne, but it had a very different vibe going on from the rest of her discography, and a lot of her side project-y stuff is fine enough, I guess. It's nice to see Gaga in full-blown Gaga mode again, and this album did have some decent hooks, but... oh... the problem here is Gaga's pedigree. Like, compared to a lot of the other stuff she's put out, this one just didn't necessarily measure up. This record is okay, but it doesn't have like a Bad Romance or an Edge of Glory on it. It's not the most captivating Gaga record, but if you like Lady Gaga, there's certainly nothing here that'll draw you away, but it's just, like, it's not my favorite Gaga record by a huge stretch, and I don't think there's gonna be a lot of other Gaga fans who would say the same thing. Although I don't know, Gaga stans can be pretty crazy, being one I know. Alright, Bad Cop, another record I was sincerely looking forward to. The last Bad Cop record was an absolute treat, a snarling and savage punk record that had zero fucks given. It was like No Effects if they were an all-girl group and you didn't have to constantly apologize for them. Oh, shut up, you know I'm right. And this new record, it's more of the same. It's more that good old bad cop, savage goodness. But, that's kind of all it is. And that isn't even necessarily a problem, but if you had your fill with the last record, there's not a lot here to entice you into listening to them any further. Again, there's nothing wrong with what they're doing. It's some great, acerbic feminist punk rock, and in my book, that is always a nice thing to have, but if this kind of sound isn't necessarily your bag, I'm not sure this is the album that'll convince you. But those of us who know what we're shopping for, those of us who love this kind of punk, yeah, I definitely say pick this one up. BCBC is an absolutely great band. I could argue that they too might have the problem. They're too young to really tell. They've only got like 3 albums out right now, so it's still too early to call, but I don't know, they do have one trick to them, it sounds like, but it sounds like they are developing into a band that is very good at their one trick, so hey, ain't nothing wrong with that. A new project here from former Minor Threat and Fugazi frontman Ian MacKaye, and yeah, it's pretty alright. It's very lo-fi, it's kind of a proto-60s garage kind of thing, though this has a much more chill vibe than a lot of garage rock has. It's got some nice hooks, some very decent choruses, and that trademark scathing lyricism that MacKaye has always been known for is out here in spades too. Though it is like a very relaxed project. I'm not expecting MacKaye to be out here doing his Minor Threat wails this late into his career, of course not, but I don't know, this was a relaxed project even by chill standards. I mean, I'm just saying, for people who aren't already familiar with MacKaye's other work out there, I could see this maybe being a bit on the meh or even the bleh side, But I've always enjoyed MacKaye. I love a lot of the stuff I've heard him here, and this is no exception. MacKaye has always been a great lyricist. He knows his way around a hook, and even if this isn't going to be for everybody, I can still give it a recommendation. It's good stuff. MacKaye is still talented. And there are plenty of old punkers his age that, real talk, aren't. Oh god, Hum released a surprise record this year. I bet a lot of hipsters busted a nut over that. So yeah, when this dropped, I instantly thought to myself, Hum are one of those bands I should be more into, but I'm not? Why am I not more into Hum? Let me see what this is about. And then when I listened to it, I instantly remembered, oh yeah, that's why I'm not into Hum. I mean, credit where it's due, Hum's sound is very distinct, but man, is it droney at times. Every song on this damn record goes on for like 2 or 3 minutes than it has any right to, and while the riffs are heavy as fuck, super duper heavy, God, these guys just repeat themselves over and over and over and over again. It's so repetitive. It is like one of the least eclectic sounds in heavy alternative. Like just, you'll wonder if your repeat button is stuck. But hey, it is one of those records that does achieve everything it sets out to do. If you're into those like really super thick alternative sounds like the guys from Helmet or Failure, this is still a nice little nostalgia romp, even though it's got things about it that I don't like, but your mileage will definitely vary on this. It's worth looking up if it sounds interesting to you. Oh, this album ruled, people. Y'all know I love me some Protest the Hero, and this record was good even by their already high standards. I loved the absolutely fret-burning riffs. Roddy Walker's voice has repaired very nicely from his previous troubles in 2018. Sounds like he's back on the mend, and I loved all the interesting string arrangements and orchestral flourishes on this record. They've dabbled in that before here and there, but this album really turned it up a notch, and it's honestly not a bad look for them. This record just absolutely destroys. If you're into progressive metalcore, or if you just want something that's heavy and just absolutely crazy and maniacal, this is one of the best heavy records in 2020. big album of the year candidate. I wish I could go into more detail. I'm still kicking myself for not getting to it timely, but it released the same week as Lamb of God, so... but I will be talking about this more on my end of the year list. Don't worry. American Aquarium. Well, B.J. Barnum has a very nice voice and a very interesting approach to lyrics and themes overall. When this album shines, I'd say it shines particularly well. A particular highlight being A Better South. I'll bet that song probably riled a few feathers in the country world. But yeah, frankly, those feathers needed to be fucking riled. There are also moments on this album I'm just like really not fond of, particularly the songs where B.J. Barnum waxes poetic about all that bootstraps shit. You know, that thing the 1% sells you instead of a decent living. If you work hard, you'll succeed no matter what. Like that shit, like... I'm not saying you shouldn't work hard, but ask anyone who's not like lily white or male or fucking rich how that bootstrap shit works for him. Fuck that Andrew Ryan bullshit. But that's not like as big of a deal breaker as I'm really making it out to be. Regardless of the little nitpicks, this album, I'd say its positives still outweigh its negatives, and I can still give it a fairly firm recommendation. It's good country. You know, it's decent. You know, while there are plenty of blackened-ish bands out there that I do enjoy, I gotta admit, in order for me to like a black band, they need to be doing something else other than just straight-up black metal. It's just not a drink I enjoy as a straight shot, but Dzö'nga here do have a nice chaser to their blackened sound. It's very atmospheric and rooted in traditionalist folk music. It's not often you're gonna see a black metal outfit doing a song about fucking Hiawatha. If you dug the likes of Sayor from last year, this is another excellent album in that general vein. It's a fantastic black metal listen. For those of us who don't exactly gel the most well with black metal, hey, it's... I don't know, you might need to take that into consideration too, depending on your black metal tastes, but I found it to be a good sit. It's worth a shot. Oh, okay, the White Buffalo is back. I remember I actually got a request to do this guy about 4 years back, and... honestly, I found his work to be a nice, pleasant surprise. He's got a very nice blend of alt-country and roots rock going on in his overall sound. And to be honest, at the time, I actually saw him as a decent in-between for, you know, people who are mainly rock but want to try to get into country. Since then, I've admittedly discovered like Sergil Simpson and Rustin Kelly and all the other alt country that does that kind of thing way better. But, you know, I still generally overall dig Buffalo's brand of cowpunk, and the electric direction he took on this album in particular is also a good look, you know? If you're into country or curious about country but maybe don't want to fully commit, I'd still say this is a good artist to be checking out, and this album turned out pretty okay. RVG is this lo-fi alternative act out of Melbourne, and while this act is Australian, on my first spin, I almost could have sworn they were English, because there is a very Britpop feel to this album. An early Britpop, you know, not like the big Oasis brand of Britpop, the more earnest sort of beginning level stuff, like the Levelers, or like very early Blur, like pre-Song 2 Blur. It's got some very jangly and attractive guitar melodies, and it's an album that honestly caught me off guard with just how catchy it was. Definitely worth picking up if you want something with a bit more of an indie buzz, or something with a kind of throwback sound that you don't often hear a lot of bands doing. I definitely appreciated that. I mean, I wouldn't mind a Britpop revival. Would y'all want to see a Britpop revival? I'd do a Britpop revival. Virginia post-punk band
True.
Body here with their debut record, and by post-punk, people do I mean post-punk. This is post-punk with 2 capital P's. There are overtones of Television, Echo and the Bunnymen, and Joy Division just all over this thing. In fact, you could really make the argument that this album is too post-punk. It's post-punk vanilla. It sounds almost exactly what you'd imagine any generic-sounding post-punk band would try to sound like. And while not every post-punk band out there worships Ian Curtis, this band's vocalist clearly worships Ian Curtis. If you've got a predilection towards post-punk, you'll probably get something out of this, but if not, I really don't think this is the album that'll get you into the genre. This is a band that desperately needs to find some originality, and soon, but for what it is, you could do worse. Now here's an interesting concept. This new project is made up of veterans from both the power and symphonic metal scenes, and it has this thick blend of EDM and dance club style electronica, in addition to the more bombastic metal stylings. It's an interesting concept. In execution, it's something that sounds better on paper than it does in practice, at least with this band. This record, as unique as it was, just really was not grabbing attention. Not unlistenable by any means, and I do feel like there is a good idea in this band, but man, the sound is just not fully there yet. It needs something else. It needs something to push it over the edge. It is lacking some spice. It is lacking some kick. This is a band I could see being potentially good in the future. I could see them being really worth watching, maybe if they develop in the right direction. But this record, they're not there yet. That's all I can really say. I don't know anything about this guy. I don't know jack shit about Raleigh Ritchie. I've never watched Game of Thrones, and literally the only thing I've ever seen this guy in was that time he played Mario Kart with the Game Grumps. And based on his vocals, lyrics, and beat and sample choices on this particular record, I'd say he's better at Mario Kart. I wasn't feeling it. This album, originally shelved in 1975, has been remastered and finally released to the public. Man, this feels like kind of a big deal, doesn't it? A Neil Young record from the 70s we never got to hear? Well, now that it's actually here, I kind of get why we didn't get this one back in the day. It's still pretty decent stuff, surprisingly enough. 70s Neil Young is probably his best era, but it's not After the Gold or Harvest good, and the mixing on this thing is just very inconsistent. You can tell they ran into some road bumps bringing this thing back to life, and it's also got some really weird moments on it. Florida is fucking weird. And the song is very strange too. But even if I wouldn't call this an undiscovered gem that you have to, go out and buy, this is the lost classic we never got, even though I can't give it that much hype, I'm still glad we have it now, and if you're into Neil Young, it's definitely checking out for sure. There are good things on this album, but I would not call this a classic. Ooh, people. This is that dream pop that absolutely hits the spot. It's like if the Cocteau Twins or Beach House were bitten by the morbid bug and wrote their songs to be really dark and macabre, absolutely blissful, while also being twisted to a certain degree. It's not the most crazy thing out there or anything, and some of the sampling is a little too on the nose, particularly on Shatter and Sweet Candy. It's called subtlety, give it a try, but I mean, they're tiny flaws that get absolutely dwarfed in the face of some of the most lush melodies I've heard all year. Ooh. Ooh, this gets a legit ooh out of me, people. Like, ooh. God, you know, Love Bites is one of those bands I should be all over. I mean, they're intense, they're very technically skilled, they're, well, real talk, kawaii as fuck. I'm usually a sucker for this kind of shit, so why doesn't Love Bites do it as well for me? I think this album made me finally realize just what it is. For one, they lay everything on just way too thick. This album is 1 hour and 10 minutes long, and man, do you feel that sit after a while. And their vocalist has this really bad habit of over-singing. Her vibrato is just very strange, and she's just trying way too hard to sell it. Like, chill, ma'am. The instrumentals shred on this thing, and there is some good heavy metal song crafting, but God, this album especially, it's just way too big of a bite, and I don't necessarily love it. Lambert is like the only American Idol alumnus I've ever given half a shit about. But yeah, I've always really dug a lot of the stuff I've heard from him, and he does great work with Queen. Did a hell of a lot better than Paul Rodgers, just saying. But he's got a new record out, and you know, it's honestly pretty great. It's a cool mix of 70s funk, disco, and straight up glam rock in like all the best possible ways. I mean, if I can just put it as simply as I can put it, these are booty jams, people. These are just like the bootiest of booty jams. And these aren't tender, loving care booty jams. These are, we're both drunk, I have no idea where I am, let's do something we'll regret booty jams, you know? And I respect that. You know, people, I remember the last Me and That Man project just boring me to tears. I'm sorry, that was a tedious record. And this album, God, it's just more of the same. And it's absolutely bloated with unnecessary features. Like, look, I don't care, Nurgle. Bring in whoever you want to bring in. It's not gonna solve this overly polished, overly glitzy bullshit ass production you got going on here. I mean, this thing may market itself as a country record, but I'm sorry, this is not a country album. This is a bunch of metal guys pretending to be country. And it is a bad impression too. Like, it feels fake. It feels super duper damn fake. Like, it's so fake it almost feels like 70s cheese variety show fake. It's like, you're watching CBS, and this is the Nurgle and Friends Satan Time Smile Variety Hour, featuring Matt Heafy, Corey Taylor, and the Harlem Globetrotter. I mean, I'm not even the most country-ass guy in the world, but even I know fake-ass country when I hear it, and this is some fake-ass country wannabe bullshit. I'm sorry. Fellas, there are a lot of good musicians on this record. I will not fault you that, but guys, stick with what you know. You know, like I previously mentioned, I'm no expert when it comes to black metal. I'll gladly cop to that, but this album, oh, this did very little for me, I'm sorry. This is kind of a black metal outfit that likes to center their albums around big central narrative concepts, and this record is focused on Johann Conrad Dippel. An interesting story there for sure. But it didn't commit to the narrative. It opens with this weird disconnected story about a zombie child eating its mother. That didn't have anything to do with him. Then there's this whole weird deviation in World War II that comes out of nowhere. That didn't have shit to do with anything either. And like, whatever story they were trying to tell, they did not fucking succeed. And if the music were good, I might not care, but my God, the production. It's in that very uncomfortable middle ground for black metal production where it isn't so lo-fi and ugly that it can sound like pure and like original in a black metal sense, but it's not like clean and polished enough to be like full symphonic or full, you know, sellout black metal. It's in that uncomfortable middle where it just sounds like shit, especially the drums. Good God, the muted ass drums on this thing, like, ugh. Like, I'm sorry, but this album sounds like trash. Like, I know what they were going for, too, with the whole lyrical themes and whatnot. They were going for edgy, they were going for gross, they were going for yeah, but it doesn't sound yeah, it sounds corny. This is, again, I'd be the last guy to know because I'm not like a black metal dude, but I don't know, just looking from the outside in, I listen to stuff like this and I'm like, this is corny. This is like the cheese metal of black metal, from what it sounds like. Like, this is Beast in Black if it were no fucking fun. Ooh, okay, now here's a black metal project I can get behind. The guitarist from Tribulation has this little side project where he makes acoustic folk, and like, wow, people, this is way better than it has any right to be. It's dark and moody, but also very understated, quiet, and humble. The music is absolutely lucid, downright cosmic, and full-blown dreamy in moments. It's the absolute perfect balance of serene and sensational. So many artists that go for that dark folk approach can be so meandering and flaccid, but this project, man, you know, I just love how the guys in Tribulation in general are just doing such cool and subversive stuff to black music, and this is another testament to their talent. Absolutely worth a look, even if you're not into darker genres. It's just a very pleasant and just blissful fucking record. Definitely give this a try. Highly recommended. Plasma Cutter here is a very interesting project that combines Midwestern old-school pop-punk and emo with a very bright and bleepy sound of chiptune. I mean, this is extremely Nintendo core right here. And this album, Summer Vacation, man, it's one of the very few albums I've actually heard this summer that feels like a summer record. It captures that blissful and nostalgic vibe that I honestly haven't heard done this effectively since the Atari's best years. It's a little on the long side, and man, is this thing stuffed with instrumental tracks. I mean, it's chiptune, so that's kinda part of the reason why you're here. But it's so exquisitely executed and absolutely blissful that, man, even those little bugbears, it's mostly instrumental, it's way too long, those things that usually sit on my tits, I wasn't feeling that. I was just having a good ride all the way through. And if a long album that has a lot of instrumentals can win me over, you know, my notoriously grumpy ass in that respect, if that album can win me over, it's definitely doing something right. I would definitely check this out. Like, shit, good stuff. So this got requested, and I'm not reviewing it. Do you know why I'm not reviewing it? Because it's just some guy who's doing this out of his basement for fun. He's not a professional. He's not out here trying to do this professionally. And don't want to just review some guy, especially if it doesn't seem like he's out there trying to get people to review his stuff. Like, people requesting shit like this is a foul fucking ball, okay? I have to get, like, real with you for a minute. The only reason I'm even including this on the list is so that I can lay down a new policy with requests. People, requests have to be from actual artists. And like, I don't mean that in like a condescending way towards this guy. Oh, you're not a real artist. Like, no. I don't mean it like that. What I mean is like the band you request has to actually like be a band. Like they have to be out there trying to do this professionally. They have to be doing some kind of active promotion. Preferably they'd be signed to some kind of label or another. Like, at the very least, they have to have a fucking audience outside of, you know, their neighborhood. You cannot just request randos who are just out there trying to have fun. That isn't fair to the smaller acts who are just out there not taking this seriously or who aren't ready to be reviewed yet. Requesting shit like this is very shitty to them, okay? The artist you request, whether it be for a request rundown or a FIMI, has to have at minimum 400 monthly listeners on Spotify. Like Plasma Cutter, for example. That's also a very, very small act, but they meet all of that criteria. They are a band actually trying to promote and get noticed. It's okay to request a small act, but they have to be an act, okay? People, I will be exercising this and I will be putting it to veto power, so just use an ounce of common freaking sense when requesting, okay? Like, I'm not gonna review some random dude's basement tapes that he probably doesn't even want reviewed. How would you feel if your old basement tapes or your first tries at doing art professionally were like put under a, oh, let's analyze, let's Anthony Fantano this, let's see, oh, is this your first time? It totally sounds like it. People, use common sense when requesting artists, or I will freaking veto you. I hate to get too real on you, but this has happened way too many times, and yeah, I am using this as a moment to draw the line. No. As far as this guy himself, I won't say anything else outside of, hey man, I enjoyed what you were doing. It sounds like you're having fun out there. I hope you're having fun, and I hope you're doing good, and you and your buds are having a grand old time with it, you know? Like, if you ever do get to that point, hey, maybe I can tackle you. I certainly wouldn't mind then, but for you and for every artist who is not ready for this, no, I'm not covering it. Just, people, I know I sound salty, but just use some common sense. That's all I'm asking. Man, Chromeo. This is my first exposure to Chromeo, and all I can say is, oh, the lyrics to this one, dude. They're so on the nose, Ninja Sex Party would tell you to tone it down. Like, oh, this is silly. This is just silly shit, man. But like, the grooves and the melodies are just so fucking ultra tight, man. I don't even care. Like, it's goofy as fuck, and this is just a little throwaway project, but god damn, do these guys know a funky ass groove. These guys are laying down some primo funk, man. Just, Chromeo is totally one of those bands I need to get into, don't I? Are they a band I need to get into? Because I don't know, even based on this goofy little project, I'm just thinking, yeah, ooh, I need to hop on this train, shit. I'm sure Jeff Rosenstock is a perfectly nice man. And you know what? I'm happy so many of you seem to like him so much. But I've listened to 3 albums of his for this channel, and I've dug into his backlog now, and people, I am sorry, but I just do not like any of this man's music. I am completely ambivalent on everything I've ever heard from him. And I'm just convinced I'm not going to be on this train. I'm just never going to be on this train. I don't fucking get it. He's fine. I mean, there's certainly worse guys you could be listening to, but why the fervor? He's just not that interesting. People, I have tried with this guy. I have sincerely tried. I've tried no less than 3 times now to care. and he has given me nothing to care about. I don't care. I cannot care. I will never care. Stop trying to get me to care. People, again, if you just love this guy, more power to ya, mazel tov, whatever, but I don't. And I won't. So please stop requesting him. Pretty please. I don't care. I do not care. I do not care. Simple as that. One Desire. This is a metal band that feels like kind of a midway point between stuff like Camelot and Def Leppard. It's kind of on the cheesy side of things, and I do have my taste for cheese metal. Don't get me wrong, I do like cheese metal, but this isn't cheesy enough to appreciate as a lark, and it's not sincere enough for me to take it even remotely seriously. It's in an uncomfortable middle ground. I mean, if you have a taste for this kind of classics-inspired cheese metal, this will probably scratch an itch for you, but outside of that demographic, I don't think this is gonna impress too many people. I mean, it's alright, it's okay, but I can only recommend this to a very specific type of listener, so I don't know, just take all of that in mind and just see where it takes you. I didn't necessarily love it, but I didn't hate it or anything either. It's okay. Heyo people, Future Crash stepping in here. Why am I filming this segment like this? Well, I'll put it this way. This is the version of Crash you get to see when past Crash over here forgets to shoot one of his segments. Dumbass. Yeah, sorry people, I just completely spaced it while I was shooting. I don't have much to say about the new Carly Rae Jepsen, except that, man, oh man, this album is horny as fuck, and I'm here for it. Judge me, I don't care. Okay, now back to your regularly scheduled FIMI. Yeah, sorry about this, guys. I didn't cut my hair, by the way. It's just in a little ponytail. See? It's like, just back there. I'm real bad at this. Boris. What would you even call Boris? Experimental, noise, doom, retro, J-metal? How's my aim with that? They are a very hard band to nail down. This album, though, it kind of feels like it's not my thing. It has its strong moments. When it really goes on the warpath, it absolutely gallops, but the sludgy stuff, oh my god, they hang on long, drawn-out sections and keep hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering and hammering away at the same notes over and over and over and over and over. Oh. Is this annoying and repetitive? Because that's what this album feels like when it's on its Melvins bullshit. I mean, if you're into the sludgier, sort of slow-moving, more metallic sides of things, I don't see that being a problem for you necessarily, but man, if you aren't, this album, it'll really pique your interest in places, but man, will it take you to some deep valleys. I don't know, it's for a very certain, specific kind of listener, but I don't know. Gabe Lee is a Nashville artist who I think really embodies the classic Nashville sound. Big, bright organs, pianos, and saxophones, splashy and twangy guitar tones, and a style that evokes as much from Hank Williams and Johnny Cash as it does CCR, Dylan, and Buffalo Springfield. The dude completely understands how to blend Americana, country, and classic rock into a very fitting homage to all the old classics. The dude knows his history, and you can tell he knows music very, very intimately. I wouldn't say this is the most creative or heart-wrenching thing out there. It's not going to tug at anyone's heartstrings necessarily, but you know, for country that's traditionally rooted and technically sound, Gabe is an example of how those two characteristics need not be mutually exclusive. This isn't going to be something for everyone, but if you can appreciate the classics and you don't mind a very twangy country vibe, yeah, I can recommend this. Pretty good stuff overall. It's weird seeing me recommend all this country, isn't it? I don't know, I'm learning. And that does it for this quarter's FIMI. Thanks again for watching. Thanks again to the lovelies over the CTXO Discord for your suggestions. And stay tuned in around probably October for when we do FIMI again for quarter 3 of the year. Thanks again for watching. If you like what you see, feel free to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell while you're at it. In the meantime though, I'm Thompson, and I'll see you in the next video.